kind of like the style of it, and it's simple and clean, and you know, I joke that it's the $1,000 air cleaner.
My bike is a style of bike called Digger.
This is the only show where I think you can build an amazing motorcycle, and it's just average and just mind-blowing fabricators out here.
Hi, I'm Grant Peterson.
And I'm Mike Davis, and we put on the Born Free Show. I think it's about 4 years ago. Actually, Grant and I were sitting around talking about the fact that there are no real vintage bike shows anymore, especially, you know, chopper stuff. I mean, we love all vintage bikes, but you just don't see any. You go to a show, there might be one or two that are kind of halfway, you know, what we like, but, you know, there's really nothing else to look at. So after an hour or so, I mean, you want to leave. And we just started talking about it. We said that with all the friends that we had that had cool bikes, just our friends alone, we just got them to come out, we could put together a pretty cool little show. So that's kind of how we started, just with friends. You know what, we do the show because we love it, and we came up with this idea that to give away a bike. You know, it had been done before, but not with the style of bike that we're into or that people that come to the show are into. You know, you give away an S&S motor, which is cool, or a newer Harley, brand new right off the showroom, which is neat. But to give away a real vintage motorcycle that's built in the style that we like and that the people want, I mean, we thought it had never been done before, so we just thought that would be such an awesome idea. So we gave away the Panhead at Born Free 2, and then like Grant said, last year we really stepped it up and decided to do a knucklehead. We just thought that's the only thing we could do, and it's, I mean, almost impossible to top that. I mean, how do you top that? That's really, I mean, a knucklehead is held in such high regard, it's really hard to do. So we thought, let's just do a shovel head, you know? Let's do a 69 shovel head. We kind of like picking out a year, you know, theme of the show. So we started looking, we found a bike that was on, was it Detroit Craigslist? Yeah. Detroit Craigslist. And it was a sweet looking bike, real stock looking. And we have a friend, Grant's buddy, Jesse, that's up in Detroit. We sent this guy out to look at this bike. He says, oh, the bike looks amazing. You know, it's a really clean stock bike. So we thought, great, we'll just get this bike and we'll turn it into a chopper.
Pull the motor and trans and sell the rest.
Yeah, send it over to Yoshi, and we've already got our motor and our donor, and we'll sell the rest and be able to recoup our money. But when we got the bike, it was so clean and so, you know, original and nice, and it had Bobby's Girl painted on the rear fender, and the guy who owned it, his name was Bobby Fisher. So it just had this, it just like, man, the thing was so nice, it would have been like a sin to rip it apart. So we're thinking, like, what do? Do we just keep this thing, you know, or do we give away just a stock bike? And then it was like, I don't know if it was...
Well, we sunk all the money we had from left over from the show to start this, you know, Born Free 4. That was all the money we had left. We blew on that bike, and we're like, well, we're not going to tear it apart, so what are we going to do? We're kind of like up a creek.
Yeah, so then we just kind of
this guy
thought about it, and I thought, man, the only way to do it is to do two bikes. Let's just do two. Let's go. Let's do it. You know, it's like, the only way we're going to be able to compete against the knucklehead, and doing 269 shovel heads, just, man, it sounded so cool. Like one stock, bone stock looking bike, and then one just, you know, tough chopper, like if you were to, you know, see that bike riding around in 69 next to the stock one, or if you had the stock one and you wanted to turn it into a chopper, this is what you would have done.
Man, the shovel head chopper that we're giving away, I like the whole thing. I don't know, the whole bike together it's a little bit more of, for lack of a better term, kind of a tough bike compared to the real classy knucklehead last year. Not that the shovel head isn't classy, but it's just a little more mean, a little bit more aggressive looking. You know, it's you know, more of a hot rod Harley slash chopper. I know that rear wheel, that 12 spoke on there really looks good. That kind of really ties a nice little bow on everything and says, this thing's ready to go.
I mean, we've met hundreds of people, if not, I don't want to say thousands, but maybe good friends, people we've met just
across the world.
Yeah, across the world, from the show and on the internet, and be able to come in one place, one common place, and then like see everybody and like point and talk and look and, you know, get excited about what you did. I mean, it's pretty cool. I think that's why we get such a positive feeling, you know, that day of that show. It's like it's kind of euphoric. We've had people say they can't explain it, but
it's the Woodstock of choppers.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. Yeah. So I think it's when you make the motorcycles first. Motorcycles are the most important thing. The old bikes, you put that first, then, you know, the shows.
Everybody's happy.
Yeah.
My name is Yoshi Kosaka. I own a garage company, and we built Bonfree bikes for 2 years, and it's great. This is kind of something special, you know. The Mike called me, hey Yoshi, can you build Bonfree bikes? And I said, yeah, very, you know, interesting to build, because, you know, we have, you know, Kyo, you know, built a whole, you know, custom bikes, and I want to more people, you know, enjoying, and then I want to, you know, show more stuff, or, you know, that's why very, very happy to, you know, build. Yeah.
My name is Kyo, original from Japan. Yeah, Mike and Grant come to Yoshi and then please make for the Bonfree bike. Yeah, it's of course, yeah. You know that a lot of people watching them, and then lots of guys seeing the California chopper scene, and then they try to make really awesome chopper show. Yeah, it's really great, I think. I spent maybe 150 hours for the bike. You know, we don't have so many good tools, so everything by hand. Yeah, cut the tank, modify the frame, and then put on a fender, small bracket, tab, machining, everything by hand. Yeah, measure it, cut it, weld it, sand it. So I spend so many time. If I want bike, yeah, like that. Like that. It's an unbelievable thing. You know, somebody get that bike. Wow. If it's me, I'm gonna crazy. Yes. Like this.
It's the closest thing I know to being free. Honky tonk is where I wanna be. It's the closest thing I know to being
Caleb Owens, originally from Miami, Florida. I live in Culver City, California right now. My bike is a 1976 FLH with a 78 motor. What is my bike? The name of the bike is Yang Yang, and it's sort of a 80s inspired cafe style / racer kind of vibe. That's the bike. Favorite part on the bike is, it was hard to pick a favorite part, but I think the air cleaner The air cleaner cover is probably my favorite piece on the bike. I made that from scratch, yeah. I mean, the idea was basically to kind of mimic the 70s era or 80s era AMF era of Harley-Davidson, like the Sturgis bikes and that kind of thing. But to add a little twist to it, scale it down a little bit, and I just kind of like the style of it, and it's simple and clean, and I joke that it's the $1,000 air cleaner because I got probably 2 or 3 days in fabricating it and another day in paint, so there you go. The bike was the most challenging because, I mean, the bike in general was most challenging because it's a sort of departure of what I generally do, which is more of the traditional kind of choppers. But as far as a piece on the bike, the headlight cowl, the top of the headlight with this little aluminum piece that I modified, ironically probably the smallest modification on the bike, but the most challenging, because this is an original casted piece. So I modified it in such a way that I had the clutch cable go through the top part of the cowling, and then a space cut out for the banjo bolt where from the master cylinder on the brake side goes. And in essence, the idea was to get the bars closer together instead of having them way apart. Get a little bit more of a stance there. But it's cast aluminum, so every time you weld on that stuff, it's porous. So you got to grind it and shave it, and then holes pop up, and you got to weld it again. You got to grind it and weld it again, and grind it and weld it again. So there's probably, I welded it probably 15, 20 times, and I don't know how many hours of grinding and smoothing. And at a certain point, you kind of throw your hands up and say, fuck, I should have just made it from scratch, So, but it's there. It's not quite perfect, but there it is. It's a massive honor, and like this whole process of building a bike, it's an emotional process. It's an intense process. I think just being invited is flattering, because it's somebody saying, hey, listen, we admire your work, and we want you to be part of this thing. So you don't really ever, at least I don't ever really look at myself as a builder per se. I enjoy riding motorcycles, and I just started modifying them. Next thing I know, I'm building them. So to be part of the builder invite is a massive honor, and I'm very, very flattered to be part of it. And because I admire all the rest of the builders, and the bikes are amazing, and I learned, as part of doing the process, you learn from seeing what the other guys do, and you talk about their process, and you learn different ways to do things and techniques and stuff. So it's all around, it's just a really good, enriching, positive experience. And more importantly, I pride myself in making, building durable, rideable, motorcycles that are not just for show, but you can go out and ride them every day. And I'm excited about this one and getting to put some miles on it. Oh man, that's tough, dude. That's tough. That's really tough. I don't know, man. I don't know. Matt Olson's bike is beautiful. He's a young kid. He just geeks out on knuckleheads, and you just see the passion and the joy in what he does, and it shows in that motorcycle. Obviously, that's a top bike here for sure. Renee's bike, that the nose cone, beautiful little East LA style bike, is simple, but just beautifully executed. I love that bike. Mike's flathead is amazing. It's really, I mean, I'm not pulling your chain here. It's really tough to pick the top three, I mean, it's really tough, really, really tough. I look at my bike and I'm proud of my bike, but I go, shit. I mean, I'm glad that I'm flattered that my bike's even in the same room with some of these bikes. It's really cool. So, whoever wins, I think deserves it. And it's going to be a really good moment. And I can't wait to see whoever that person is.
My name is Gilby Clark. I'm actually a guitar player by trade. I used to play with Guns N' Roses back in the wild days, and now I play in a couple different bands. I've played with Heart over the last couple years, the Reformed MC5, and I have a band called Gilby Clark. And still touring the world. But I've been into vintage motorcycles for a long time, really long time. I've had my Panhead since 1988, and back then, we couldn't get parts, by going on the internet and stuff. We really had to know people, have connections. When you call people, they didn't answer their phones back then, so it was a real surge. So for me, Born Free is just ridiculously exciting. This is a really fun place to go to see all these bikes back in action, where for years and years, they were, in the barns, and nobody wanted to ride them. They wanted the new Evos and things. So this is, for someone like me, this is awesome. I think the good and bad about the resurgence of this vintage motorcycle scene, especially with the younger kids getting involved, there is good and bad on both sides. It's great because if you need a part, you can actually find it. It's bad because we're all after the same stuff. When a really great part, good old Springer comes around, a narrowed one or something, we all want it, and we're fighting against each other to find it. I think it's great seeing the younger kids getting involved, because they are not only just resurrecting the past, but they're taking it to a new level, man. What I think about the invited builders and the regular people riding in their bikes is, once again, it blows my mind to see the quality of what these guys are building. I mean, we're still building the same old machine. It's a knuckle, pan, shovel, and a 4-speed and on a rigid. But to see what these guys have done with this, they've brought art into it. They've made these motorcycles an art piece, and the talent of what these guys have in their fucking heads is just ridiculous. I mean, once again, Caleb Owens blows my mind all the time. How he can go from a rigid pan, to go to a shovel head that he's doing right now. It's just, it's amazing. Some of these guys, don't do this for a living. This is really a hobby, a glorified hobby. To see the dedication that they put into it, once again, is ridiculous.
I am Tyler Malinky from Hinckley, Ohio. I built a dual-engine pre-unit 1955 Triumph race bike, land speed racer. Going to race it at Bonneville Speed Week in about 2 months. August 11th, 2012. I've got it entered, running the 1350cc class, pre-1956, so it's all mostly, panhead, knuckleheads, maybe some Indian stuff, I don't know. But it'll be fun to run a Triumph against that and hopefully knock a couple of them out of the books, new records. Just the complexity of everything. I mean, I had trouble wrapping my head around. I had to tackle one thing at a time because there were so many components and things to think about, and it was all in my head. I don't make many lists or anything, and it was hard for me to focus on the whole picture because it was overwhelming. So it was just trying to get one task or function done so it would work and not interfere with everything else, and just do that every day over and over and over. It was just a ton of thought and time. The ignition on the bike is Morris magnetos, and they just started making Triumph pre-unit magnetos, and I got 2 of probably the first ones. And the heads on both motors are dual plugged, so there's 4 plugs on each motor, and I run a Morris single fire wire kit. I run 4 of them, so each magneto fires 4 spark plugs, and they're timed exactly the same, and so when I link the motor, both motors are identical, so it fires, it's firing, all 8 plugs off the 2 magnetos. So they run in sync. The wheels on that bike are interesting. Al Lonville is a flat track racer in Ohio that we sponsor on a 500 Triumph, and those are Lester mag wheels, which are made in Ohio back in the day, and those were on this bike that he raced. It was raced since the early 70s at least. He needed to go to spoked wheels for AMA rolls, and the rear is a quick change, like a Barnes quick change. So I've got sprockets and 1/2 increments, and I can change gearing really easy. And they were drilled out when I got them, which is neat looking, and had them polished up and a little paint on there for accent. And they're unique. I've never seen any other Lesters that were a quick change. I mean, for all I know, they're a one-off thing. I don't know the far back history on them, but they're neat and odd and rare. The gas tank and the oil tank are both aluminum, just hand hammered. Made a buck out of MDF and hammered them and welded them up. Same thing with the primary cover, seat, chain guard, fender, everything's aluminum and it's all handmade. I'd never done any hammering, you know, any hammer forming with aluminum. Learned on the gas tank, and I love it. It's really time intensive, but it turns out nice. That's why we left the sides, the painter left the sides polished, you know, put paint on it just to show that they're aluminum too, you know, the work that went into it. Being an invited builder was, made me very happy and excited, but humbled because I don't build bikes for a living or for customers. You know, I do it on my own after work. I work on a computer and do ad stuff and website stuff and all that. So I felt like, why am I building a bike when there's all these other guys I know who are so talented and can build something? But I was real excited to do it and show what I could do. But I found out at like midnight when I was about to go to bed, my brother texted me, and then I looked on the website and saw my name on there, and then got excited and then real nervous. And I just thought about all the work I had to do, and then I couldn't sleep. You know, I was, you know, foreshadowing of what was to come. Yeah, I've been watching other builders online through the last couple months, and that made me feel better because a lot of other guys at the same point are, you know, basically knowing there's a lot of people around the country going through the same exact thing, all the stress and work, you know, so I didn't feel alone in that. Yeah, just this morning I went around to several shops and saw several bikes still being being built, you know, being worked on and finished up. And yeah, I've seen some amazing stuff so far. A bunch of old guys whose names I don't know. You know, just pictures of, you know, dual engine bikes and race bikes, and the fact that they did it, you know, they just winged it, you know, which is what I did. I didn't have any idea. You know, it was just all a big, expensive, time-intensive experiment, you know, until I got it done, because I didn't know if it would run right, and how fast it'll go, which I don't know yet, you know. But there's all these guys who did this before I did, you know, and it's just neat to build a dual engine bike, which isn't very common. And I don't know if anyone's built one anytime recently. So it's neat to do something that might stand out like that. I have a shop called Lowbrow Customs. We don't do service or builds. We're parts and accessories, internet-based. So we don't touch anyone's bikes. Everyone there has bikes and builds bikes and works on them as a hobby, myself included. So I don't get paid to work on bikes or fabricate. It's not what I do for a living. But we're immersed in motorcycles 24/7. You know.
My name is Shige Suganuma. I'm owner of the Moon Eyes. The Moon Eyes been here for 50 years, but Dean Moon, founder, passed away in 1987. In 1992, we took over his business, and then now we've been running this business 20 years. I try to keep old taste, not new. It's new, but taste old. That's what I'm doing. And most of the stuff is made in USA. That's the key. Demand is different. Here it's strictly, we stick with the hazard and motorcycle perks. But over there, not only perks, but also wear clothing and other gift stuff. Well, two guys, Grant and Mike, and came to Japan. And since then, we kind of friends getting together. And then my show in Japan is not only a show, but also like a reunion. People come to the show all over the world. Meet in Yokohama, and next day spread. So just like here, it's same. So it's not the motorcycle show. It's people get together things. That's both of them. Yeah, they're all great. They're all great bikes. So it's hard to judge, I guess, you know. So I don't know who's gonna get. Yet, so many people and so many bikes and so you know it's changed. You know, it used to be a bike show here. It's kind of different, but now it's nice, friendly. If anyone wanna come, they all are my guests, so to Japan.
My name is David Polgreen. I'm from St. Paul, Minnesota. My bike is a style of bike called Digger. It's a style that was popularized in the mid to late 70s through the early 80s, I guess I would say. And it's first became popular in the Bay Area and kind of spread to the East Coast. It wasn't as popular in SoCal as much. But it essentially are drag bikes made for the street. So they are typically big motors, low to the ground, a lot of rake, not a lot of upstretch, a little bit of flash, you know. So they're a nice mix of business and pleasure, I'd call them. And that's basically what my bike is. My bike's an original Arlen Ness big twin digger frame and Arlen Ness Springer front fork. And the rest is basically I custom made. Me or my friends helped me. So, motor is a 1966 FL Harley-Davidson motor, generator shovel head. It's one of my favorite motors. It's got the beautiful flat cam cover. Yeah, they're beautiful motors. I had it fully polished, and yeah, it turned out really nice. My favorite part of the bike is probably the frame, just because it forms the foundation for so much of the rest of the machine. It had the perfect lines. It's made out of chromoly, 7/8 chromoly, which is extremely lightweight but very strong. And also it's a Ness big twin digger frame. There are very few of those made. I've never seen one in person until I found this one. So it's a rare frame that has a really distinctive look, and it just, you know, really does it for me. The most challenging part of the build was definitely the fabrication of the rear fender. It's all molded into the frame, and it serves multiple purposes. It's got an oil tank in it. It's got my taillight in it. It's got that geometric pattern to it. It's got my seat pan is all part of it. So it was really complicated, and I wouldn't have been able to build it without help from friends of mine, including Chris Lampman, who's a really good friend of mine that helped me with a lot of the fabrication on it. So yeah, it was very difficult to do. There are other parts that were pain in the ass too, but that's the one that sticks in my mind the most. The coolest part of my bike is probably the gas tank. The gas tank is really, really skinny and has really nice angular lines to it. Again, my buddy Chris Lampman helped me with the fabrication on that. I bent up the top panels and the side panels, tacked it all together. He helped me with the final welding on it. It turned out really, really nice, and it's really skinny, but it holds a decent amount of gas, and I'm really, really excited about it. It really sets off the lines of the bike, I think. How does it make me feel to be an invited builder at Born Free 4? It makes me feel really honored, actually. I think it's, there's so many talented builders that are part of it. It's amazing to me that I'm even part of it, because I'm just a part-time, you know, I just do it for fun in my garage. I don't do it for business or anything like that. And there's so many guys that are doing it that are extraordinarily talented, that, you know, are doing things that are just incredible, that, you know, shops don't even do these days, that are very creative. And I'm just honored to be a part of it. And it surprises me, actually, whenever I'm, you know, included in stuff like this, because I'm just a one-man shop doing it for fun. So it's a real honor. I've seen a lot of the bikes, both here and online. I've had a chance to look them all over. And the build quality on all of them is incredible. And there's an incredible diversity of styles, too. There's no prevalent themes. Like, there's a bunch of different styles of bikes. I think it's a real tribute to sort of the style of builders these days. The people are doing a lot of sort of off the wall and different stuff, and I think it's showing in the vast diversity of the builds that are being done this year. My favorite one besides my own, God, that's a tough one. I don't know. I'd have to say I really like Caleb's build, the shovelhead, swing arm shovelhead, just because it's, you know, I really like swing arm bikes, and it's really cool. I love Andy from Pangaea Speed Shop's bike. It's a Bosozuku bike, which is basically a Japanese, you know, like kind of thug style bike. But they're done really goofily, and he kind of incorporated that style and did an incredible bike. It's turbocharged. I mean, it's amazing. And he's a really interesting and cool guy, too. My buddy Jeff Layton built a really cool panhead, which is sort of a classic, you know, LA style chopper that, you know, very, very cleanly done. I mean, I'm doing disservice to all of the bikes because they're all amazing. I saw Bacon's water-cooled knucklehead. I mean, that thing is unbelievable just from looking at it. Matt Olson's bike, his knucklehead, is like, it's not even worth talking about. It's so amazing. So, yeah, it's incredible.
My name is Brandon Wildbank from Huntington Beach, California, and I rode a 1951 Triumph 6T. Started the bike a couple months ago. I've had it for a couple years and decided to make Born Free my deadline for it. Started doing paint and powder coat and rebuilding the engine and tranny and all the stuff needed for it, and using this weekend as a deadline, and things got pushed back. Today's the first time I've actually ridden it on the road. It's a shakedown ride today. I've been to every Born Free so far, and coincidentally enough, I've taken a new Triumph to every single Born Free, so that kind of pushed the deadline I set for myself to get this thing done and not reuse a motorcycle. Yeah, I've done a pretty broad spectrum of events. Like, I've even been here before for some Harley jam fest of dudes doing the slow race and all that stuff, and this is definitely my favorite show. Nothing really compares to this. It's free, lots of cool bikes. This is the only show where I think you can build an amazing motorcycle, and it's just average and just mind-blowing fabricators out here, so I love it.
My name is Walter Gemeinhart. I'm from Kickstart Cycle Supply in South Hackensack, New Jersey, and I'm here at Born Free because it's a great show. Get to see people I haven't seen in ages, and as an extra bonus, I was an invited builder this year. You may be asking yourself why my show bike looks exactly like my FXR. I ran into too many problems with my build, and my motor ended up seizing, and I just couldn't get it done in time, and ran out of time and money and everything. No, I took the last $200 of my checking account, bought a new tire, and changed the oil on this and rode out. I came out with my friend Gentry, who hadn't done any long distance riding before, so it was great seeing him experience a trip for the first time. It took us 4 days to do about 2,900 miles. It was a good pace, good clip, you know, good guy to travel with, you know, get it done kind of guy. Honestly, there's no comparison between the Southern California bike scene and the East Coast, New York, Jersey, what I consider East Coast. There's nothing like this. The closest thing is like the Brooklyn Invitational, which is a pretty good show, big turnout, but there's no shows like this. There's, I hate to say it, but the bike scene in New York is very fragmented. You know, guys will go to a party, they'll support, but there's no big numbers like this. You would never see this many in the ride-in show. You'd never see that many rigids in one place, that many shovels in one place, that many great paint in one place. You just don't see it. It doesn't exist.
My name is Matt Olson. I'm from a little town in South Dakota named Aberdeen. It's 40 miles south of North Dakota and 100 miles west of Minnesota. I brought a 1947 Knucklehead out. It's a 61-inch bike with, custom frame, custom fork, tanks, fender, dash, primary cover, etc., etc. So the most challenging part about my build for Born Free 4 was the gauges and the dash. Every part on the bike I tried to come up with a plan on how to do and make it finish and look nice. And my plan on the gauges was to buy an old 1927 Dodge gauge cluster, gut it, use the internals, and then put them in custom-made cups. Well, I made the custom-made cups, I made the bezels, and then I made the dash over the tanks, and like 2 weeks before Born Free, my amp gauge didn't work. Like, the needle was bent, and I'm like, oh shit. So I just like scoured the internet and tried to find the correct gauges. My friend Delmar and I found something that had a good old look to it. There's like little face plates that cover them that say oil and amp, and they're like stainless steel with engraving that say oil and amp and look old. So really all you see is the little range with like 10, 20, 30, 40 for your oil pressure, and 20, 10, 0, 1020 for your amp gauge. So you just had to have something that small that looked good and old. And Delmer and I were able to find one and make new bezels, new cans, and still have it fit with the stuff that was already fabricated for the bike. So that was really the only corner I painted myself into, and that was the hardest, most challenging thing to overcome. I restore bikes and I fix up like a lot of fucked up junk, like stuff that's just destroyed. And it's really fun to do, and you hone in your skill sets on fabricating stuff, but you know what the end product is. And this is a little bit different because I don't know what the end product looks like, and I have more freedom along the way to do whatever I want. So I guess what motivates me when I work is to make something as perfect as I possibly can and as usable and functional as I can. When I made this bike, I just wanted to make every single part look finished and as nice as possible, and I wanted it to look timeless, where somebody wouldn't look at it in 10, 20, or 50 years and be like, oh, that's like a 2010 recreation of a 60s bike, or that's a 1980s style, whatever. I wanted something that was absolutely finished and perfect in every way, and just as nice as possible. Things that inspire me are like coach builders of like the 1920s, 30s, guys that would take a stock chassis and build from there. Any of like the pattern makers from like the teens all the way to the 30s, even the 50s, it was still looking pretty good, where they have to make something that's dimensionally correct, and they have to make it look good, and they just add whatever metal in, make it look awesome. And they didn't have any computers or any bullshit like that, It's that stuff's really inspirational to me. And I thought about that all the time when I was making, seat mounts or castings or, just little finished parts. So the coolest part of my bike, I mean, you asked me before, and I didn't want to bring it together. Like, it sucks when you put something together. Okay, so there's like 6 views of a part when it's by itself. You put it together and you cover up 3 of them. Like, I wanted to just bring like a fucking pegboard stand and like have each little piece on like a fucking pin that spun around so people could see it, but like that doesn't fly. Like, I think more people would have been pissed than impressed. So, I mean, every single part on it is just so cool. I love the dash, I love the frame. The frame has like all tapered tubing, 2 seat posts, 2 backbones. It's clean as hell, and the transmission, the engine, I mean, it's all reworked and just trick. I love the exhaust, I love the primary cover, handlebars, everything. It's so tough to pick. Like, each part has their own little thing, so. Yeah, my dad and I worked together in South Dakota. I built my first bike when I was 11. It was a 1948 Hummer. Right now we have like 2 or 3 employees, and we turn out like 6 to 8 bikes a year, and then do a ton of motor work. Mainly just knuckleheads and panheads, some flatheads, and just focus on turning out the best stuff that we possibly can.
My name's Jesse Bassett, and I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and I own the gas box there. This show is the best show that I've been to in the past 10 years. This show's great. There's a great diversity of bikes that are here. Every bike here is nice to look at, and it's very cool, very inspirational to come here and look at what everyone else has done. All the invited builder bikes are really nice. I like looking at them all. There's no specific bike that I would pick out above any other. The Shovelhead I built for Born Free this year is a really cool bike. We started out with Mullins chain drive frame, and then we used a lot of lowbrow parts on the build, and we used a lot of the parts that I manufacture also. I manufacture fenders in Cleveland. So we used all those parts. The front end, we used Maughan fork shields, fork covers, and then modified the stock 35mm front fork to accept those fork shrouds. Used a couple period parts, Eris headlight, and The seat was made in Cleveland. That's done with patent leather. Thought that would really make the purple metal flake kind of stand out. Just kind of built a nice, fun, little shiny bike. There's not a big difference in Cleveland from the bikes that I see here in LA, other than there's a lot more bikes in California than we have there. I think the styles are kind of similar because of the internet, and everyone gets to see what is going on everywhere else in the world. So I think the quality and everything is still is up to the same no matter what city you're in. There may just be less or more of it. I think it's a great influence because now it opens people up to all the information for vintage motorcycles. So if you're interested in an old bike and you're from a city where no one else has an old bike, you can go online, find a guy that knows about that bike and send him an email, and now all of a sudden you have all that information. So I think it's a very good thing.
My name is Sean. I'm from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. A show at home, I went to one a couple weeks ago. It was a really good attempt at a rad show. They're really trying. There's not enough guys. We get 30 bikes, 20 of them are brand new. So it's, but we don't get to ride bikes all year round up there. You know, we're not in sunny Southern California, so that's how it is. This is my third Born Free. I went to the second one. It was at Classic Cycles in the Street, which was done to people packed in, and then I came to the first one, last one they did here, and then today. That's off the hook. Of course, I mean, there's so much hype as to all the different builders coming down here. You can't pick a favorite, you know? It's like, it's almost rude. It's like you're a dad and all your kids are around and you want to say to each one of them, it's like, you're my favorite. You guys are all my favorite. So I can't even begin to tell you which one is my favorite one. I mean, it's kind of hard to see so much here that you forget the last bike that you see because the next one you see just pushes everything out. It's just like this steady stream of stuff coming in and out of your head and you forget what you already saw by the time you see something else. So I couldn't tell you what my favorite builder bike is here. But I mean, that 2-engine Triumph's pretty dope, but it is a Triumph, so it kind of like, oh, I don't know, I have a hard time saying I like Triumphs. I'd like to say I'm going to be riding them home in a Chopper Glory on a trip down to Mexico, you know, like Calgary, Alberta via Tijuana. I don't know, man. I hope whoever picks it deserves it, though, you know, like, I know the first one I went to, that kid Tim that won, he was just so stoked, like, they're like, his name, and he's like, bang! And so I just hope it's some dude who just walks up and he's just got a fucking boner for it, you know? That'd be pretty rad. But I think you'd be hard-pressed to find some guys like, oh, I want a shovelhead, whatever. Let's go, I guess it's okay. Like, that guy's he's not even here.
My name is Tyler Lepore, from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. It's a Triumph. It's 1970 T100C motor, 500. Custom 7/8 rear section from pretty much the tank back. 16-inch rear wheel, 21 front, Triumph front end, made the bars, a lot of stuff chromed. Maybe the windscreen is the favorite part for me, just because it's a bit different. I don't know what my inspiration was for a double windscreen. I figured maybe if someone else at the show was going to do one, I could maybe up them with 2. I have no idea. I think I just built one and was like, it needs a little more. And then I was like, oh, I'll just do another one, see if it looks good. And then I kind of put it on there, mocked it up for like a week and was like, I don't know, it's a weird point where it's like almost too kitschy and dumb, but then you're like, well, something about a show bike has to be like a bit weird. You gotta do something that's a little off. So I was like, I'll do that. It kind of takes like, with those fishtail pipes too, is a bit tough. So I was like, I'm not a real tough dude, so I wanted to tone down the tough and bring up kind of more of the nerd. So yeah. Probably the rear section, making that whole rear section. I made my whole bike out of well, the rear section is all 7/8 tubing, and I pretty much made the bike based off that Bates TT style seat. So I didn't make a jig, or I probably should have made a jig, but I didn't. I just kind of went at it. Just slugging the tubes, mitering all the 7/8 so everything fit together and looked really good. And then as soon as I was done, I had to figure out the shock travel that I was going to use with that Harley 16-inch drop center rim, which was really tough to figure out where my chain line was going to go and how much I had to lop off the inside of my swing arm. So I used a press and maxed out my shocks and then figured out how much travel I had. And then from there, had to basically figure out where my shock mounts could go, because I had to make those from scratch and figure out just making the whole rear section of the bike work. Making sure the I was gonna have a tire if I rode more than a block, making sure my swing arm was actually working nice. I really wanted to have a bike that had shocks, so I didn't want to strut it. And then after I was done with everything, I had to make my oil bag work, which all of a sudden I didn't have room for my coils or my battery, so I bought a magneto, and then, cool, my oil bag fits in. I still had to lop off 3/4 of the back of the oil bag, make all that fit. Just, the whole rear end probably took me a month just to get it half decent, so it was like, cool, I can sit on the bike, shocks go up and down, the wheels on. Like, the rear section was a nightmare. Being an invited builder is crazy, man, for this show. Just because so many people that build bikes here, the level of fabrication is amazing, you know, it's unreal. So I don't really consider myself a fabricator, I consider myself just a dude that's into motorbike stuff that maybe has a weird aesthetic people dig on. So when I got invited, I was pretty blown away. And then, yeah, I just felt really privileged just to be a part of the show. My bike last year won Best British Bike. So it was this same thing, Triumph 500, except it's a T100C motor, hardtail with a Springer front end. And the only reason I really built this Triumph was because I knew a lot of people weren't going to do Triumph stuff, and smaller motors as well. And I had so many spare parts because my bike was such a basket case from the first round. So I figured I had a bit of a jump start on the pocketbook aspect, which was kind of false. Always costs more money than anything. I've seen a few other bikes that are going to be in the show, mostly online, just through the Born Free site and stuff Mike and Grant have been posting. And yeah, there's definitely a few bikes that I'm just like, wow, man. I've always really liked Todd Asian stuff, Small City Cycles, just because I've done a few Triumphs now, so I'm just into that. So I was like, oh, this guy does Triumph stuff, and it's really hard to find projects up in Canada. You don't, there's not as many people as there is in California, or the States, period. So he always seems like he has some new pre-unit cool project, and I'm just like, like I could never even find that at home. So yeah, I'm like, man, okay, I'm stoked on his stuff, and I like his site, so I've been checking out his blog here and there, and Caleb's stuff blows me away, level of fabrication. And he always has some really neat little doodads and stuff on there that you're like, that probably took, 2 weeks to make that little mount. So I'm really excited to see his bike, and probably Tyler's bike from Lowbrow, just because I have a few friends that are really into drag stuff right now. It seems like it's kind of this resurgence in the drag bike world, and I don't know, that would be totally beyond me. Building a dual motor 650 drag bike would just, yeah, don't know where to start, so I'm stoked to see his bike. I have a panhead, it's in pieces, but I'm working on that. I'm working to expand my horizons, but it's kind of, once you buy all the stuff for a Triumph, you have so much junk, you kind of have to just stick with it. Because you get the wrenches and all the Whitworth crap, and then all the small stuff, and before you know it, you have to buy, like, I could probably build a whole other motor right now, so maybe I'll just stick with 500 stuff again. I don't know.
Yeah, we're a small company, Baxter Motorcycle, and we're out of Northern California, and come out to Born Free actually as a spectator the first year, and have just noticed how it's grown in the last 4 years. Been real happy to be a part of it now as a vendor. Love to see all the people, and just, it's really overwhelming with all the quality stuff. It's not a blown out event, it's more just the best stuff all in one spot, concentrated. So to be a part of it is amazing for us.
My name is Wink Yeller. I've been here in the city of Orange for about 35 years, and we've done a lot of, we've run a lot of bike shows and stuff like that in the past. The one thing about it, the guys from Cycle Lodge have really, really done a great job of putting this thing on. This being the 4th year, I've put together bike shows in the past up to like 1990, back when the you know, when the big roller coaster ride with the bikes were at the hottest. And for 8 years in a row, I put a bike show on. And I got to say, for these guys putting this on in our economy, this type of a atmosphere, to get this many people together for one day, it is phenomenal. It is really a crazy, crazy deal how it's working out. I don't know how those guys have done it, but they've done an excellent job.
My name is Andy Carter. I'm from Salt Lake City, Utah, and I brought a 1992 FXD. My favorite part of the bike would definitely have to be the air-cooled exhaust. It was a ton of work, hand shaping all the fins, and it's a 1-into-2 pipe, so it comes out of the turbo as one pipe and converts into an oval, which switches into 2 pipes coming out the back. And all that was a real trick to figure out, and then welding all the fins on it and creating the custom tips on the end was a lot of work. So probably the most challenging part was designing the turbo setup. There's just not a lot of information out there about it, and so it's kind of just a grassroots, you know, effort. Just figure out what's going to work, what's not, and hopefully it doesn't blow up, and it hasn't yet, so crossing my fingers. Yeah, being invited back is amazing, and I'm honored that out of everybody who did it last year, I was one of the ones that they brought back, and there's such a diverse crowd this year that I think that's awesome, because, you know, it shows that bikes like mine can survive, I guess, in this kind of circumstances. So I'm honored to be invited back. It's amazing. My influences stem from, I try and look outside of motorcycling as much as I can and get into, I don't know, just I feel like try and find good design in all sorts of different veins. I mean, I don't know, Raymond Loewy. I do a lot of Art Deco stuff, so like Raymond Loewy, I don't know, Ames, those dudes. I mean, him and his wife had the most killer shop environment ever, and I don't know, I guess I look at a lot of art, and I don't know, I mean, obviously for this, the like Bosozoku, you know, speed tribes from Japan, that's, you know, why I wanted to do it so over the top. Those guys are, you know, just nut jobs, and so I don't know, I guess anybody that's really really willing to get crazy and do something weird, you know. I'm just not a tough guy, you know, and so like sometimes the like hardcore chopper stuff, it just doesn't feel like me, you know. I just know I'm pretty dorky and stuff, and so I like that about it, you know. I have a shop in Salt Lake called Pangea Speed, and I build, you know, all sorts of stuff, wild custom bikes like that, or I'll build you a pair of handlebars, you know. And then I've also got an online parts line that I do, handlebars, foot pegs, seats, that kind of stuff.
My name's Franchera. I'm from Edgewood, New Mexico. Today at Born Free, I bought 46 Knucklehead. I really love it. It's actually awesome. They're some of the best bikes I've ever seen anywhere here. Yep, I took a walk this morning, and I'm sitting right where everybody's coming in, so I've already picked out a few that I want to go see again. Born Free, compared to other shows, it's really its own completely animal. I mean, Sturgis or the Rot Rally or any local bike nights, it's a completely different crowd. This has a lot more grassroots feel to it. A lot more guys that are in their garage figuring out their own stuff. It's really amazing. I'm really pretty much speechless. It's pretty rare for me.
We have the Moon Eyes pick. Is Todd Azen from Idaho with his Pre-Unit Triumph. Todd, Todd, congratulations. You've built a hell of a motorcycle there. And the Moon Eyes crew liked it well enough to give you the Moon Eyes pick. This is a ticket, the guest ticket, to go to Yokohama this year for the Best in Show. At Born Free 4, Matt Olson from Aberdeen, South Dakota is Knucklehead.
Just get me on that old road again.
The third place in the builders, Jason Ferris from Richmond, California. Second place on the builders is Michael Berrigan, Evil Spirit Engineering. First place of the builders is Caleb Owens from Crow Customs. Caleb, I think you won 2 years in a row. Yeah, Caleb won last year. Huh? Two-time winner by a pretty good margin. Caleb had a lot of votes. So congratulations, Caleb. Congratulations, guys. Thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
You guys well deserve it.
Some have a kind word to say.
They know why she did there.
There. Mike Davis.
Got a lot of bikes.
Oh, shit.
So don't hurt him. Don't hurt him.
Number.
The number's 3219. Dynamite Joe Caravan. Where are you? Joe, where are you?
Joe? Come on up.
Wait a minute, really?
Joe bought a lot of tickets. Hold them up.
No, yeah.
That's my son.
Yeah.
Hold it. Joey bought it. Joey bought it. Pull up all these tickets. Hold up. Joe is serious about this, but it's actually his son's ticket, he says.
Holy shit. Sorry for some of the F-bombs. Which one?
So what? Oh, we got. Are you waiting for Joey? Where is he?
He left.
Ah.
Okay.
Are you gonna pick for him?
I'm his old man. I'm gonna make the pick.
Which one are you gonna pick?
I'm picking the chopper.
Say it again.
I'm picking the chopper.
All right, we still have another bike to give away. It's not chopped liver. Ticket number 0086. 0086, Ron Levy from Malibu, California. Ron, are you here? Ron Levy. He went home, who knows him? Mike's gonna call. And as you guys leave, please do so nice and easy. No burnouts, no wheelies. This isn't the place for that. That's not what we do here. It's not, let's just get out of here all in one piece. It's been an awesome day.